There's a game on Steam where you draw a breach plan on a floor layout, set the go codes, and send a squad of rangers into a compound. This all takes place in a fictional country called Nowaraki. If the plan works, the room can clear in about 5 seconds. If it doesn't, your guys are dead. Or, if they're lucky, grievously injured in about 2 seconds. Despite the simple premise, it took 9 years to come out, and it launched because a random guy on a Steam forum asked nicely. November 3rd, 2020, a user named MindLink opens the Door Kickers 2 discussion forum on Steam and types 2 pretty direct lines of text. Release the damn game, please? 39 minutes later, KillHouse Games co-founder Mihai Gasa, described by KillHouse Games as Chief Technical Something, replies from the developer account Penty. Okay, give us 10 to 20 minutes. Door Kickers 2 Task Force North goes live on Steam, early access, that same afternoon. The game had been announced nearly 5 years earlier. Delayed, re-announced, delayed again. As far as anyone watching could tell, MindLink had just willed the game into existence. KillHouse Games started in 2012 in Bucharest, Romania. Dan Dimitrescu, Cătălin Saitan, and Mihai Gasa. 3 people, no publisher, self-funded. Dan, as a matter of fact, had come from Ubisoft Bucharest, where he'd worked on the Silent Hunter submarine sims. Before that, he'd spent the 90s writing about games for Romanian magazines. So, by the time he started making indie games, he'd already spent years reviewing other people's work and then more years designing systems where you stare through a periscope for 40 minutes. Despite this unassuming game history, in 2014, KillHouse released Door Kickers. In this top-down tactics game, you commanded a SWAT team from above, like you're looking at a floor plan. Once you drew the lines and picked the fields of fire, and hit go, you found out whether your plan was a success, by how fast you cleared the room and how fast your guys did or did not get turned into bullet-filled mincemeat. Rock Paper Shotgun gave it their Bestest Best Tactics Award for 2014. PC Gamer scored it an 84. Not a massive seller, but it had its crowd. In January 2016, KillHouse announced Door Kickers 2 Task Force North. The Western SWAT teams were out, and the Army Rangers, CIA Special Activities Division, and local Nowaraki SWAT were in. Sporting a new engine, 2.5-dimension top-down view, and even more ambitious than its predecessor, early access was expected later that year, maybe early 2017. That didn't happen. The problem was the scope. KillHouse had promised all the things mentioned prior, but also destructible environments, co-op, smarter AI, and more. For 3 guys in Bucharest with no publisher and no deadline, that was a lot of work. But they worked on it, and kept working on it, through 2017, 2018, and 2019. Fans asked for updates, but KillHouse mostly didn't have any substantial information. In February 2020, they put out a new trailer with gameplay footage and a Steam page. Early access, they said, was coming that spring. Well, spring came and went. After that, summer came and went. And 2020, a year that was already going badly for unrelated reasons, also became another year of waiting. Now, games slip their release windows all the time, but KillHouse had been mostly silent for 4 years. By late 2020, most people had stopped expecting any form of a concrete release date. And then, one fateful day in November, the unthinkable happened. The thread is still on Steam. You can go look at it right now if you want. 12:07 p.m., MindLink posts, "Release the damn game." 1 line down, please. 12:46 p.m., Penty replies, "Okay, give us 10 to 20 minutes." The game goes live within the hour. Penty comes back later and posts, "MindLink has set us free." Dan Dimitrescu, posting under his handle Volpe Nebuna, adds, "We should rent MindLink to other game developers." Another user points out that plenty of people had been asking for the game over the years, but surely the difference was this guy had said the magic word, "Please." Obviously, the game didn't get built in 10 minutes. It had been sitting there, basically done, for who knows how long. Weeks, maybe months. KillHouse could have shipped any time and didn't. But then a guy posts 2 lines on a Tuesday, and for whatever reason, they did. But the game was in early access, not finished. At launch, it had about 20 missions, 1 unit type, the Rangers, and a mission editor. KillHouse estimated 12 to 16 months before 1.0. So full release around late 2021, maybe early 2022. That's not what happened. At some point during early access, KillHouse stopped shipping incremental updates and tried, maybe foolishly, to finish the game in one big push. Updates got slower, and months would go by without much of substance from the developers. But the player count held up, and the Steam Workshop kept growing. By the time KillHouse was ready to set a date, players had uploaded over 8,500 custom maps. On January 31st, 2025, KillHouse posted a release date trailer. The game would launch on February 10th, they said. 4 years and 3 months after it entered early access. Almost 9 years after the original announcement. But Door Kickers 2 actually did hit 1.0 on February 10th, 2025. It garnered around 8,000 reviews at launch and roughly 95% positive. Overwhelmingly positive on Steam. After 9 years, you'd expect some resentment baked into these reviews, but there really wasn't. The 1.0 game has over 90 missions across 6 campaigns, 4 scripted operations, and 2 tour duty modes that procedurally generate their missions. You command one of 3 units, the Army Rangers, CIA's Special Activities Division, or Nowaraki SWAT, the local force. Each has its own loadout and doctrine tree, which changes how your operators behave in a firefight. Each mission starts with developing a floor plan. You drag waypoints for each operator, set which direction they're facing so you get a good overlapping field of fire, and you mark breach points. If you've got teams entering from multiple sides, you tie them to a go code so they can hit at the same second. There's also an Iron Man mode where dead operators stay dead. You can pause anytime to revise, then you unpause and the plan runs. The culmination of years of work, and it was a blast. Now, it's worth backing up for a second and expanding on why this game took 9 years. KillHouse mentioned in one of their delay posts that the jump from Door Kickers 1 to Door Kickers 2 wasn't just new units in a new setting, as I'm sure you've gathered yourself. That meant rebuilding systems from scratch, like pathfinding, line of sight, line of fire, and rendering, and changing it all to fit in a 3D environment with a 2.5 dimension fixed perspective. On top of that, with destructive environments, walls breaking in real time means line of sight calculations have to update in real time. Most of the tactical features like this, in Door Kickers 2, weren't possible in the first game's engine. The breach charges that let you blow holes anywhere in a wall, and the night vision that changes what's visible in a darkened building, as well as the undercover system that lets CIA operators walk into hostile areas, all took a lot of work for such a small team. KillHouse promised all of this in 2016, yes, but actually building it took the rest of the decade. If you go back to that Steam thread from November 2020, Penty's reply is still the first one. But right now, the game sits on Steam, currently in version 1.11, with a lot more content than Door Kickers 2 had back then. 3 playable units now, over 90 missions now, and a Steam Workshop with thousands of community maps. The game's got the entire tactical niche covered pretty thoroughly. If you do pick the game up, the early operations missions ease you in, with relatively small compounds and fairly direct objectives. You'll fail 1 or 2 while you learn the controls and the planning interface, but the systems are intuitive enough that you can get the hang of it pretty fast. The later missions are designed to be hard enough that the only way to clear them is to actually study the layout pretty in depth. Or you can take after my method and try over and over until something eventually works. But it stays entertaining and unique every time. If you find yourself running the same mission 13 times and getting slightly better each time, like me, you found your genre. It's like a tactical puzzle wearing a global war on terror mask, and doming the bad guys is rewarding even when the attempt count hits double digits. So, if you're still on the fence about checking out this game with a storied history, I'd have to say, just give it 10 to 20 minutes.